Okay, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. It has been a while since I've done any streaming because, boy, when was the last time? I can't even remember. It was a while ago, though. Because there was the. Oh, no, I did some in the run up to the holidays. I do remember that. I don't know if I did any after. Did I do some the first week of January? I think I did. I think I did. But still, it's for those who don't know, and if anybody follows me on Twitter or anything like that, then you'll know this. I got COVID pretty soon after the holidays, which put a bit of a kink into the streaming schedule. Well, actually, if we want to get technical about it, my wife got it first. So for a few days, I was on nurse patrol, making sure she was okay, which took a little bit of. So obviously, I wasn't streaming when all that was going on. And then I got it, which was, pretty inevitable. When somebody in your household gets it, especially, you know, unless you have a mansion and hermetically sealed rooms, there's a good chance, you're going to get it. So I kind of was expecting to. And sure enough, within 3 days of my wife getting it, I got it, which, she felt terrible about, but it wasn't her fault. I mean, it's a virus. Nothing you can do about it. It was going to happen, especially because her symptoms kind of came out of nowhere. So she was inevitably, or almost certainly, I don't know this for sure, but almost certainly she had it before symptoms manifested. And so we weren't isolating because why would we? And it's just how it goes. That's okay. It was not fun. I will say that. It was not the most entertaining, and I mean I still got it, so this is not going to be a very long stream. I mean I'm not still testing positive, but I still have a cough that is really really hanging around because we're now on. Well, this would be week. I test Sunday, so this would be 2.5 weeks at this point, and I still have a bit of a runny nose and a bit of a cough. Certainly nothing compared to the worst of it. And even my worst, I'll be very clear, was not anywhere near the worst that some people have had. I was never any place close to what I would call any type of danger, which, so I'm very lucky in that way. I never got. I had one day where I had a what would be described as a low grade fever, 100.5 on the Fahrenheit scale. I apologize. I don't know what Celsius for that would be. But that was really the worst of it, honestly, was that um, fever, and that really wasn't. I mean, I don't consider 100.5. My wife was more worried about it than I was. I do not consider 100.5 to be a serious fever. I mean, it's obviously a fever, but not. When I start to worry is if I'm hitting 103 or 104, then we've got a problem. I never got anywhere near that. I was at 100.5 for maybe half a day, maybe, and that was it. My O2 levels were always good. My wife got nailed with fatigue where she slept for 2 days. I never had any of that. Now that's probably because I got the fourth booster shot 3 weeks before Thanksgiving, I think, because I wanted it because we were going to be flying, so I wanted to be at peak, immunity for the flight. So that booster would still be in high effect right now. Um, so I'm pretty sure that's why. At least that's what I'm going to attribute it to. I know there's disagreement over whether the booster does much or not. I feel like it was worth it for me to do it, but your experience and mileage may vary. Oh, I see. I was in the middle of something. Let me switch over here. Let's go ahead and do our little transition. I'm not going to wait the 5 minutes. It's perfectly fine. This is not going to be a long stream. I'll just tell you that right off the bat. It's not. This is probably going to be 30 minutes and we'll see. Because I really don't want to be coughing the whole stream. And this cough has just been really weirdly intermittent where it comes and goes and comes and goes. It's strange. My whole experience of COVID was basically a big science experiment where it just every day was some weird different thing. It was very, very strange. Fortunately, because it wasn't that bad, I got to experience it kind of as almost a science experiment where I was sort of amazed at how much it kept shifting and moving and everything else. So yeah, it was really strange because it just kept changing, and uh, it's a weird disease. But I got very lucky because it was never. I can't really pretend I was all that sick, at least not in any way that was incapacitating. Which I'm, when my wife, because my wife does not sleep during the day, does not sleep during the day. My wife is not a lazy person. And when she was out for 2 days, and I'm talking about 48 hours of sleeping, when that happened, I was prepared to get socked. I was like, okay, this thing is going to hit me, and it's going to hit me hard. So I'm just going to kind of mentally get myself in a state to be ready to be miserable for, if I got to sleep for 2 days and, whatever. And it really wasn't, it really never hit a severity level that, again, I was never concerned. I was never worried about my health, which I'm very, very, very grateful for, because I really didn't know. I mean, even the booster is not a guarantee you're not going to get sick. It's a protection, but it's not a guarantee. Nothing's a guarantee. So I really didn't know, and especially because the reactions to this thing have been so varied that I really didn't know what it was going to be like. I kind of, I let my doctor know. I went, okay, if I got to take a trip to the hospital, then that's where this is going, then that's where it goes. So just kind of get yourself into a mental state in case that's going to happen, and, we'll ride this thing out and see what happens. And it really just ended up being okay. Not that I'm in any hurry to get it again. I'm not going to be one of these people who's like, well, I got it, so now I'm just going to do whatever I want. I'm still going to do exactly what I did before, because that worked for me for a long time. And it was just unfortunate that, the exposure point was one that I was not going to be able to get away from. Again, I wasn't, I didn't even want my wife to isolate in the house. She tried. And I knew that wasn't going to work. I mean, in my mind, I went, no, it's too close. The air is what the air is, and there's nothing you're going to do about it. So in my head, that's way too big a brush. In my head, I did not for a second think that her isolating was going to spare me from anything. I was just waiting. But it was important to her to do it. I didn't argue. I was like, okay, yeah, if you want to, you want to try to isolate. And so I wore a mask inside the house, and she slept in a different room, which was terrible for me because I don't like sleeping alone. So that was not the easiest thing in the world. But I understand why she did it. I probably would have done the same thing. It would have been an attempt. It would have been I'm just going to try type of thing. And, so I went along with it, but in my head, I went, no, it's not going to work. This is not going to do what you think it's going to do. But actually for a couple days, then I went, oh, then of course, then I got to this point where I went, oh, is it possible that I'm actually immune? Could I be immune from COVID? I know there are people who are. Could I be in that rare group of people who just won't get it? No. I am not. The evidence does not support that I have any type of natural immunity from COVID. The evidence would be in the contrary on that. So, like I said, I attribute the mildness. I mean, it also is a milder version floating around, so I don't want to downplay that either. We are now at a point where the virus, although, I don't want to turn this into the COVID show or anything like that, because that's not really what I'm about, and it's become such a polarized subject that it's like, what's the point? What am I going to contribute of any worth in this thing? But I still hear people referring to this thing like it's just the flu. Like, the flu is nothing, too. The flu is not nothing. I do not understand that comparison. I got to be honest. People will say, oh, it's just the flu. Man, I had the flu a few times when I was younger. It was not great. I would not want the flu again either. It's why I get the flu shot, man. I don't want that either. That's not any type of delight either. And then I've heard people say, oh, it's a cold. I'm like, okay, it ain't a cold. Like, whatever. You can have your debates on, a lot of things with COVID. Don't be calling it a cold. That just makes you sound stupid. It's not a cold. Sorry. Maybe that's a politically divisive thing to say now, but it ain't a cold. But Like I said, I don't want to turn this into the COVID debate show because that's not what I'm about. I'm just happy me and my wife made it through it okay. Didn't have any major problems. The taste thing was strange. I will say that was kind of an interesting bit. I didn't lose my taste, but my taste sort of shifted. Things that I knew the taste of didn't taste the same. That was really interesting. I have to admit, that was actually kind of a more of a scientific type of thing, where I noticed that things, and my wife had the same experience, where things just tasted different. Not even bad, because I've heard some people that, like my sister for a while, could only taste and smell bad things, almost like defense survival mechanism stuff in the body. It wasn't like that. It wasn't that I only tasted bad, quote unquote, things. It's just that the taste was off. That seems to have resolved. I think that's all done. So I think the only thing I've got left from it now is the cough and and my nose still occasionally will run. But that's really it. I mean, I'm not going to complain all that much about that because it's not a huge deal. But yeah, so I wasn't streaming for a while because I was my voice was shot for about 3 days straight, where I sounded like Darth Vader gargling tar. I mean, not even a good deep voice, not like a nice Barry White type of voice. Because at one point my boss at my job, I was talking to him and he said, he's like, your voice is unrecognizable. I'm like, yeah, and my voice is shot. And that seemed to just happen out of nowhere too. That was another odd thing, because that just seemed to come out of nowhere as well. Because I'd had a sore throat. Oh boy, the sore throat. I will say that was pretty bad. The one day with the sore throat was a rough day, because it really was. Every time I swallowed, it was like knives in my throat, and that is rough, because I'm trying to drink tea and stuff and trying to make sure I'm eating, because I didn't have an appetite for a while either, and I know it's not good to just not eat. But man, when every swallow is painful like that, it really just makes you not want to eat or drink anything. That was probably the roughest thing. The chills and fevers were annoying, because at one point I had the chills so bad I was basically like convulsing, and so I was getting these back cramps. So that was irritating. But I would have taken more of that over the sore throat, because man, it is not fun when swallowing is a nightmare event. So anyway, that's why I haven't streamed in a while, is because I've been under the weather. And it's funny, I know a lot of people now getting COVID again. This is my first time, so mine was not a repeat case, but I was just talking to a coworker of mine today who's now isolating because he's got it. And he said, I thought I was immune. I got this already. I'm like, well, that's not how it works. It can keep coming back. That's why I say I'm not going to change anything about how careful I am with things, because I don't want it again. That once was fine. Thank you. I don't want any more of this garbage. So, I know they're ending I saw the thing that the U.S. anyway is ending the emergency declaration or whatever. And so, because now we're transitioning into an endemic, you can make the argument we've been in an endemic stage for quite a while, but I guess now it's officially going into an endemic response. And that's fine. I get it. Can't last forever, even though it's going to last forever. But I'll tell you right now, I can't even imagine when I'd be comfortable taking off a mask in public again. Because I just don't want it again. It's not even that I'm afraid of going to the hospital or anything. I just don't want to be sick again. I really don't. Same way I don't like the flu or anything else either. So, yeah, it's a strange world now compared to, say, 5 years ago. It's really, really just, it is a mentally interesting thing to consider where we are now. For some people, it's back to normal. Some people are, they don't really care. They're just going back into doing what they did. And I get that. I understand the fatigue. I do. It's not like I'm thrilled with it sticking around either, but I don't know that there's going to be any point in the near future where I'm going to be back to whatever constituted normal before, which I can barely even remember. Never got brain fog. Happy about that, by the way. Never got the brain fog. Never got a headache. That was honestly of the non, life-threatening things. The headache was what I really dreaded. I don't do well with headaches. I am a complete wimp when it comes to headaches. I'll be the first one to admit it. I do not do well with headaches, so I was dreading. Because almost every time you hear people say, oh, there's a really bad headache, so I'm just like, oh man, here it comes. At some point, there is going to be a sledgehammer that is going to drop into the middle of my skull, and I will be having a bad time. And it really never... the only headaches I did have, which... And this is weird, because I genuinely don't think I've ever had these before in my life. I think I had sinus headaches. Because I would blow my nose, but there was so much pressure, and I could feel it just at the top of my nose, that there was this pressure there, and that hurt. But honestly, I don't think I've ever had a sinus headache before. I'm just guessing that's what it was, because it was very unlike any headaches I have had. So I can only guess that it was a sinus headache, because because the act of blowing my nose was building up pressure when it couldn't all go out. Because I was a mucus factory for a few days. So yeah. So that's why I haven't been streaming lately. And then became kind of a minor injury showcase with my wife and I after we were both past COVID. My wife broke her hand about a week ago or so. And I have had a... what's the word for it? I have had a mutinous, like mutated. Not really. My left big toe has been a mess for so long, I can't even remember it being normal. Which all started with, I used to get ingrown toenails in my left big toe a lot. Which ended up at one point resulting in me falling down because I got out of bed one day, and the pain was so bad I couldn't stand. So, and I apologize, this may be too graphic for the one person watching. If there is in fact one person watching, hold on, let me look at they've revamped some things. I don't know. I don't know if any of these are real people or not. So it says one viewer. So one viewer, we're gonna get slightly, not graphic, but a little bit of medical stuff here because I'm on a medical roll, so why not? So anyway, ingrown toenail, which when it made me fall down, I noticed that there were these weird red lines on my foot. And so went to the doctor, foot doctor. Foot doctor looked at it and said, what you have there is the beginning of blood poisoning, which is very bad. And I went, oh, that sounds great. What do we do? And because I have had a track record of these ingrown toenails, the doctor said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to numb your toe, and then we are going to cut the sides of the nails off so that basically the nail becomes a straight kind of middle nail. Imagine what your big toe is, and imagine losing, I'd say, a quarter on each side off in a straight line. All right, I'm going to have to cough. Hold on a minute. I'm going to mute real quick. Okay. So they said, we're going to cut that stuff off, and then we're going to chemically burn the sides of your toe, and that way no nail can ever grow there again on the sides, and that will prevent any more ingrown toenails. And I went, okay. That Novocaine shot they gave me in that toe, one of the weirder shots I've ever gotten because it was alternating hot and cold. I remember it so vividly because they had to leave the needle in there for quite a while, and it had this alternating hot and coldness to it. It was bizarre. And so they cut the nail and they did the burn thing, and that basically gave me a really funny looking toenail, but it did, as they said, never had an ingrown toenail after that. So that's how I was for a long time. And then I'm going to say 7, 8, 9 years ago or so, Lando always talked about the Vibram shoes that actually have the individual toes because they're supposed to be a lot better for walking and stuff like that, more natural way to walk. And he was ranting and raving about it. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll give those a shot because that makes a lot of sense to me. It's a more natural way for your foot to exist. Okay, that sounds good. So I got a pair and put them on and went, oh, okay, I guess these are. I just feel a little odd, but shoes take number one. It's a different type of thing than I've ever worn in my entire life, and shoes have to get broken in, so I'll bear with it for a while. And so I was walking and walking and walking and really just trying to break these shoes in when what I actually had was a pair that was, as far as I can tell, too small for my feet. And so what I was really doing was, as opposed to breaking the shoes in as I thought I was, what I was doing was I was driving the edges, because they have like a hard edge to them. I was driving that hard edge on the interior of the shoe into my big toenails in such a way that they were pushing the nails off the nail bed, which resulted in both of my big toes being not fun for a few months, where I would wake up and they would be burning at night. But the doctor looked at them and said, well, you didn't tear the nail bed, so we don't have to remove the nails. You're just going to have to bear with this for a while. And I went, okay, and that was not fun for a while. And that, my right toenail, which is the normal one, I'll call it the normal one, that one was okay. You can tell it's a little weird looking, but it's not drastically different. Whereas my left nail became even worse because it was already messed up to begin with. So now, because of the Vibram thing, the trauma, as the one doctor, what's a foot doctor, podiatrist? As the podiatrist referred to it, oh, you've really traumatized that toe. So that nail now, or up until very recently, was basically 2 to 3 times as thick as it should be, which made it very tough. I literally would have to take a heavy file it down from both sides, and then be able to cut it. So sandals, not my shoes to begin with, certainly weren't going to be with these toes. But especially with that one. I mean, you looked at it and you thought something was wrong, which I guess technically there was. So, about 3 months ago, because my wife and I have been painting, we've been doing Bob Ross paintings. Oh, no, it's okay. Where we've been following Bob Ross paintings, and that's been kind of our thing until very recently for a number of reasons. Got cold and, illness and all the rest of it. So we'd be doing that. And, that it can be very messy. So I basically had a pair of shorts that I would put on when we painted, and that way if I got paint on them, I really didn't care. So I went to grab those shorts. And when I went to put them on, my left toenail caught something, a flap or whatever, a piece of fabric. And because I was pulling them on very quickly, popped the nail up. And I mean, it popped the nail up. And, I looked down and sure enough, blood seeping from underneath the nail. But again, consulted the doctor and they went, well, if it keeps seeping, yeah, you're going to have to come in. Otherwise, you're just going to have to put up with it. And, I did that. And, it did not increase its prettiness at all. But it really wasn't that bad. But it's funny because I would say, I'm on the wrong layer. I would say maybe, 3 days ago. 2-3 days ago, I noticed, I'm like, oh, well, that nail's getting long. I'm going to have to figure out how I'm going to cut this thing because I'm kind of worried that if I just try to cut it, that it might bleed again because it's so warped. And I actually had just had that thought. And funny enough that I have that thought, but I was folding laundry, and somehow, don't know how I did it, somehow I must have caught that toenail on some little piece of string on our bed cover, and turned my foot, and the whole nail just came off. And I was like, okay, I guess I don't have to worry about cutting it for a while. So yeah, the whole nail came off. So now that toe would probably put people off of eating for a week. So yeah, On top of COVID, there's been some other injuries happening. Right. So, yeah. Didn't really mean to make this the medical stream, but that's where we ended up. You know what? I'm actually, I think I'm gonna, my voice is, I can feel I'm gonna start coughing. Like my throat is drying out. So, but I wanted to just try and see how it was gonna be. But, you know, I'm gonna start streaming more regularly again. I just don't know how soon because this thing, sorry, I'm not trying to cough on the mic. While the worst of it is certainly over, it is lingering. So I think I'm just going to bring the stream to a close here before my throat really starts to bother me because I don't want to push it too far. But I didn't want to just, you know, I want to do at least a little bit of a stream and see how it would go. And actually, honestly, over the 20-something minutes that I've been talking, I've only coughed the one time where I caught it. And then, you know, so I think I'm going to be in good shape. I think it's going to be all right. So yeah, sorry this is a shorter than usual stream, but I'm still kind of getting myself back into doing it in general, as you know, as being able to stream in general, because it's just been just ain't been easy. Like I said, I don't want to complain too much because honestly, I feel like I got very lucky compared to even some people recently who I've talked to who've been getting it. In fact, a friend of the family just got it and is in the hospital. Fortunately, the O2 level stabilized, but now I guess it's pneumonia. So it's. I'll just say that for everybody. You know, don't mess with this thing. If you can avoid it, because you don't want it. I'm telling you, you don't want it. You know, boosted or not, it's not fun. I'll just say that it ain't fun. But I really can't complain that much. I think I got very, very lucky in that it was relatively mild. But yeah, there's bits of it that are lingering, but they're annoyances at their worst. You know, I haven't lost taste and smell for weeks or anything like that, like some people have. So again, I don't even really want to complain too much, but I don't know that I'm quite back to where I need to be doing streams regularly, because I just don't think my voice is going to last much longer. I'm kind of surprised it's lasted as long as it has for this, which is great, because, you know, I've missed doing it. That's not an exaggeration. I have missed doing the streams. It's been fun. I mean, I've been drawing. I've been working on something which I don't think I'll show it on this stream, but I've got some things cooking. I've had some things going on, which I'll save for when I could talk about it on the stream, because, you know, I basically spent this whole one talking about medical stuff, which, sorry if that's grossing people out. I really was not intending to even get into any of that stuff, but that's just where it ended up. Sometimes the only downside to being a stream of consciousness type of talker is sometimes you just go on and on about stuff, and then you realize, you know what, maybe people don't want to hear about any of this stuff. By then, though, it's usually too late. So, yeah. But this is still coming out good. I'm liking these little crosshatch, whatever we're calling these shadows. Having a fun time with that. And yeah, so let me just clean these edges up. And then I am going to bring the stream to a close, because I can tell I'm going to start coughing. So these are working out. These are all right. I'm digging where this thing is going. Okay. Yeah, I did 30 minutes. That's good. I really didn't even know if I was going to make 29. Whatever. By the time I'm done with it, it'll be 30. I really was not sure if I was going to make even a 30-minute mark, because the cough just seems to come out of nowhere. Even, you know, because I can go long stretches without coughing, but then I'll just suddenly cough for 10 to 15 minutes. Not terrible, where like I can't get my breath or anything like that. But it's a weird experience. That's all I can say about it. So anyway, yeah. So I'm gonna start to try to do them more regularly, like I was doing them before, once I've got my voice under control a little bit more. But I feel like this was a good start, because I feel like, okay, good. I can at least. Oh, I'm gonna golf. Hold on. I gotta mute. Yeah, that's why I got to stop. Um, but I feel like this was a good kind of. I'll probably do a couple more shorter ones where I'm warming my voice back up to doing this and making sure that I can actually make it through without, because I know coughing can be really sudden and I don't want to be doing it. So, in any event, thanks for stopping by. The streams will start picking up in their regularity. Maybe if a little while longer. I don't know, a couple weeks maybe or something like that. We'll just see how it goes. But I do want to start picking them back up into the kind of the pace I had before. Anyway, stay safe and healthy out there because getting sick sucks in any capacity. But yeah, be careful because this thing is still floating around and even mild, it is not a party, or at least it wasn't for me, and you just don't know what you're going to get. So yeah, stay safe and healthy. Thank you for stopping by. If you can, go create something, no matter what it is. Go be creative. It's a fun outlet. Like I said, even when I was sick, I was still drawing and doing stuff, just not on a stream. So that was great. That was a nice help. And thanks for stopping by, even for a shorter stream. And yeah, have a wonderful rest of whatever it is for you. Thanks again for coming by, and take care.